All right, survey research is important because a lot of criminal justice research is done with a survey. A lot of social science research is done with a survey. Surveys are great because they give us insights into what people are thinking. Right? So if we want to know how do police officers perceive body-worn cameras, we can survey them. If we want to know what types of drugs people are doing, we can survey them. If we want to know why prostitutes like to use Craigslist to advertise their services, we can survey them. And the nice thing about a survey is that you can talk to or you can get information from a lot of people at once, especially today with the internet. Right, you just pop a link to a survey. I mean, who here has taken which Harry Potter character am I? Or which Game of Thrones character am I? Or which Ninja Turtle am I? Or whatever survey on BuzzFeed or whatever of those, Facebook surveys that you find. Right? All of us have taken one of those surveys. Now, those surveys are typically pretty bad. They're not scientifically rigorous. It's just some nerd made it up in their basement and then posted it. Although I did you can go to, there's like this Harry Potter website. I think it's called Pottermore. I'm not sure, but you can look it up. And then you can figure out which house you're in. Can you guys guess what house I'm in? Not Hufflepuff, okay? No, I'm in Ravenclaw. Yes. I like being in Ravenclaw because one of my favorite characters, Luna Lovegood, is Ravenclaw. The one thing that's weird about quote-unquote Harry Potter is that I feel like Hermione Granger should have been in Ravenclaw because she's so damn smart. Nonetheless, I'm not Gryffindor. I don't want to be in Gryffindor. I like being in Ravenclaw. My wife's in Hufflepuff. She hates it because what does Hufflepuff even do in the entire freaking book series or movie series? To be frank and to be honest with you, I did not read the books because I hate reading. Because my life is reading. That's all I do. I read for work. So why in the hell would I read for fun? No, I read what I have to read for work, and now I'm going to go home, and I'm going to play video games, or I'm going to play guitar, or I'm going to sit and binge The Office for the 200th time. But I will not read for fun. Reading for fun, when you're reading for work, is not cool, man. That has nothing to do with survey research. Although it is kind of funny, my wife is in Hufflepuff. Lol. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about survey research and how it works in criminal justice, what we're trying to get out of it, and we're going to talk about some terminology that you need to know. Clickety-clack. Clickety-clack. All right, there we go. What is survey research? Well, it's when we ask people questions. Right? It is an easy way to ask a lot of people questions, right? It's better than interviewing in that sense, right? Because with the interview, you got to sit down, you got to talk to someone, you got to like build rapport with them, you got to like make them like you, ugh. Right? With a survey, you're like, here, take this damn survey. It'll take you 5 minutes for crying out loud. Or you can talk to lots of people you don't even know. And the nice thing about a survey is that it is typically, or most of the time, there's not someone sitting in front of you when you're taking the survey. You feel me? Okay? So you can say whatever you want on a survey. Now with that is that caveat that you can also say a bunch of crap on a survey. Who here has ever answered a survey and said a bunch of crap on it? I have, unfortunately. Okay, so you ask people questions, and they answer them. Most of the time, they do answer them truthfully because there's this guise of either confidentiality or anonymity, and so people feel more comfortable answering them, right? So a survey is the piece of paper that you send out to people, or the link, or the document, or whatever that they answer on, and then the respondent is the person who's taking the survey, right? So You'll hear me say the word respondent. So when I say the word respondent as I'm going about this lecture, I am referring to the survey taker. Okay, sorry. It's morning. I'm drinking coffee. You guys are experiencing me getting crazy because, to be honest with you, I have a low tolerance to caffeine. So, survey is the thing you give out to people. Respondent, person taking the survey. Why did I talk about that for so long? Okay. So, what are some topics that are appropriate for survey research? Well, counting crime, right? Asking people about their victimizations, right? That's what the National Victimization Survey is. Victimization Survey, aha! There it is. So there's lots of scholarly articles on that, but let's clickety-clack. So there's the BJS, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which I think, yeah, they're part of the DOJ. So the DOJ is an executive branch of the FBI and all that stuff. So either way, here is, oh, cool. So here's the actual, is this the actual survey? This looks like just like the screen questionnaire. Let's click on this. What is this? This might actually, so this is one of the things that goes out to the people that are selected for the study. Wait, this might be a interview. This might be a structured interview. Huh. Or did it say, no, it says survey, doesn't it? They want me to take a survey. Let's take the survey. So they're making me take the survey. Let's take the survey. Please leave this window open. Okay. Where's the survey? You may click. Okay, let's begin the survey. Ah, here we go. So look at this survey. Let's look at this survey. So they tell us it's a customer satisfaction survey. Here's the little intro blurb, right? Thanks for visiting our site. You've been randomly chosen to take part in a brief survey to let us know what we're doing well and where we can improve, right? So they tell you the little purpose of why you're doing this, right? This is something you should do when you create your survey about college drinking, right? Please take a few minutes to share your opinions, which are essential in helping us provide the best online experience possible. Now, they should say something like, by the way, your responses are anonymous, right? But they don't. Here. And then here, usually at the end, they have a little thing here that says, thanks for helping us do the survey. Okay, let's take the survey. Right. Please rate how well the site is organized. Well, to be frank, it's relatively well, but I want to see the survey instrument, and it was difficult for me to find that. Please rate how well the site layout helps you find what you need. Well, to be honest with you, buddy, it's kind of old looking, you know what I mean? So, I'm going to tell you about the survey. I don't know. It's just not, it just doesn't pop, you know what I mean? So let's give them a 6. I mean, it's not horrible. For a government website, it's not horrible. Please rate the how quickly, let's see, how quickly does a page load? Click! All right, that's quick. But I think that's just because I have great internet. Okay, anyways. Excuse me. Let's give them an 8, all right? Please rate how completely the page's content... What? Dude, just 8, all right? See? Why? Oh, completely versus quickly. I don't know. These are weird questions. Please rate the thoroughness of information provided on the site. Well, how would you define thoroughness? All right, I'm going to go with an 8, I guess, but I just don't know how to answer this question. See, when you ask weird items on a survey, people don't always know how to answer them. And so this creates validity problems. I don't know what they mean by that. Is it like when they describe things, like, I don't know, like, are they talking about this? This seems kind of thorough, but how do I judge whether it's thorough, right? What the hell is this? Okay? So is this thorough? I guess it's thorough because they give you lots of years. I don't know. So I'm giving him an 8. Please rate how well the site's information provides answers to your questions. Well, I want to see the actual survey. And is that the survey? I guess that is the survey. But what's the difference between the basic screen questionnaire? Did they explain that here somewhere maybe? I don't know. Anyways. And I'll give it a 7. All right, click. Thank you. Please rate the ability to sort information by criteria that are important to you. All right, so that is something. There's not a lot of sorting here, so you can click. So let's see here on this page. I want to see questionnaires. Oh, there they are. Okay. You know what? I'll give them, even though it's hard to find exactly what I'm looking for, I'll give them a 7. How are the features to help you find information? Yeah, I guess it did help me find information. Oh, the visual appeal is poor, man. Sorry. This is bad. This doesn't... Look at this. What is this? 2001? Come on, people. Now, I know it's the government. Everything moves super slow, but this is ugly. This is... Seriously, yellow? Is this Times New Roman? Come on, people. Let's use Wix for crying out loud. Jeez. Things are readable. So I'll give you a 10 on that one. Good job. My overall satisfaction with the site, yeah, I'll say it's 7. For a government site, it's not bad. How well does it meet your expectations? You know, a 6. Compared to the idea, for an ideal website, well, I'll give you, you know, I'll be nice. I'll give you a 3. How likely are you to return to BJS? Well, I don't have a freaking choice because of my job. All right. Do you guys see here? These are the questions that they're asking, or the items that are on the survey, right? But my reasoning for clicking on these things are not necessarily the reasoning that they're looking for. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I have to come back to this website because of my job. They might interpret me putting a 10 here as, well, this guy liked our website. It's not because I liked your website, man. Your website is not that great, but because of my job, I have to freaking come back, right? But survey questions that are close-ended like this, where I have to pick a number, right? Pick an option, right? They don't get at that richness of meaning, which is one of the downsides of survey research, which we're going to discuss later, right? Then this is where interviews come in so much better, because with the interview, you can be like, so you would come back 10? Why? Can you tell me a little bit more as to why? Then I can be like, well, because of my job. I'm a freaking criminal justice professor. I have to come here for my classes and for my own research. How likely are you to recommend? Well, again, I'm a freaking professor. I'm recommending you guys look at this website right now. So 9. Why not 10? I don't know. I just felt like putting 9 there. See, that's another issue with the validity, right, of surveys. It's super subjective, especially when you have to rate things like this. How likely are you to use BJS as your primary resource for obtaining information from this organization? What does that mean? Okay, so how likely are you to use BJS? Okay, so that's the Bureau of Justice Statistics. So that is an organization as your primary resource for obtaining information. So that's like asking, how likely are you to use BJS as a primary resource finding out about BJS? Oh, okay, so I guess what they're asking is, if I want to learn about BJS, am I going to go to a textbook or some other thing, or am I going to come straight to BJS? You know, frankly, it's a weird question. I'm going to give you, I mean, I would probably just go to, I'm going to give you a 5 because I don't know. See, sometimes questions are weird. Items are weird, right? And then here I'm just giving a 5. How likely are you to follow BJS on social media, such as... do you even have a Twitter? Where on your website does it show me that you have a Twitter? Where? Huh? I don't see it. Huh? Where? Where is it? So no! I already follow them. Am I already following? Yeah, I'm following them. Okay, so I'm very likely to follow them. But you know what's weird? I didn't even remember following them. It's probably, you know, like when Twitter's like, hey, here's some things that you can follow. I just clicked on follow, like here, boom. I don't even know what that is, so just hit follow. Oh, hey, I'll follow them. Oh, John J, hey, I'll follow them. All right, How frequently do you visit this site? Well, actually, quite a lot, because again, for my job, not more than once a day. I'd say like once a month. Okay. Which best describes you? Ooh. Oh, okay. Here we go. So this is good. So now they're asking some of these demographic questions, and maybe this will now give them some context here, or on wherever I said the 10. The likelihood of me returning to BJS. Well, yeah, I'm in academia, bae. What portions of the site did you visit today? Victims, right? What is your primary reason for visiting? To show you guys. Oh, yeah, here we go. Materials, of course, I'm teaching. How did you find BJS? Boom. How did you accomplish? Did you accomplish? Yeah, partially. Just tell us why. Ooh, look at this. Now you ask an open-ended question, right? And now you can ask some context. So, I was looking for a survey sample, and it was hard to determine what the main survey example survey was. Document. I don't know. Okay. How did you best describe the information on the site? It's somewhat easy to understand, right? What do you plan to do next? I don't know. I don't know. Go home. Have a couple tacos. I don't know. Maybe a beer? Okay. See, Grammarly helps me do things better. Please tell us about your navigation. Ugh, come on. I'm tired of this. But here's another thing. When you have too many items on a survey, do you realize I'm starting to get tired and bored, and I'm saying these things? Okay? So again, you want to be concise. You want to be quick. You want to get at what you want to get at. What is this? I do not use any tools. What form of data is most used? Oh, I like Excel data. I also like PDF. I was like CSV. Ooh, SPSS, bae. Whoops. There we go. Do you use search? No, I did not. Select your age. Ooh. See, now, towards the end of the survey, you usually want to ask the more boring questions because they take a lot less thought. What could they improve about the site? Anything's more clear, I suppose. Would you be interested in being contacted for a focus group? Submit. What? Oh my gosh, I skipped one. I thought I already... I guess I didn't... All right, whatever. Whatever, man. Thank you for based on your feedback. We could have done better. Please. I am not going to tell you who I am. Okay. So we just took a survey. So let's get back to business. So, counting crime. We can survey people, right? Find out about their victimizations. We can ask people about their encounters with the police, right? We can ask people about their own criminal behavior, right? Who here has ever taken a survey and they've admitted that they've conducted some nefarious activities? I have, right? You can learn about how people feel about things, right? That survey I just took, they asked me how I felt about their website, right? And you can ask people about how they feel about body cameras. You can ask people how they feel about new policies, whether they believe in CBT or not, whatever. What are people's perceptions of the legalization of marijuana? Perceptions. So counting crime, self-reports, perceptions and attitudes, right? But a lot of it is you want to learn from people. How do people feel about things? So you can learn about people's perceptions or behaviors or experiences. So something that's on a survey, like a question or whatever on a survey, is we refer to those as survey items, right? You get three types of items. You can have close-ended questions, right, where a respondent selects an answer from a list. You have open-ended questions where someone types or says something. And then you also have survey statements, like a Likert scale. Like a Likert scale is when I say, I like body, or to what extent do you agree with this? Martin is a useful instructor. You say, I strongly agree, because Martin is the best professor I've ever had. Whoops-a-daisy. So when you're creating a survey, you want to make items clear, all right? Did you guys notice some of the items on the survey we just took weren't super clear, right? I had to do some thinking about it, and when you have to sit there and think about an item, you are it takes brain power, and it removes your willingness to continue taking the survey, and people drop out. You want to avoid ambiguous questions. You want to avoid double barrel questions. It is when you can interpret a question, an item, as asking two or probing at two things, right? Or do you like to eat biscuits and gravy? Well, what if you just like gravy? What if you don't like biscuits? I don't freaking like biscuits. To be frank with you, I don't even like biscuits and gravy. I don't understand why you would eat that in the morning. It would just slow you down, man. Okay, I get it. Yeah, you're hungover. Yeah, eat some biscuits and gravy. But on like an average day, you wake up in the morning, eat biscuits and gravy. Jeez. I eat oatmeal. Quaker oatmeal. All right? Apple and cinnamon. You can't go wrong with that. Just a little bit of hot water. Takes 2 seconds. No big deal. Now I do get hungry at like 8. So then I have to eat a banana. And then I eat 3 apples throughout the day. But nonetheless, a double barrel question is when you say, do you like to drink and smoke? Or no, how often do you drink and smoke in a given week? 0, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 plus. Well, what if you just smoke and you don't drink? What if you just drink and don't smoke? Right? What if you vape? You can't even answer that question. I know some of you are sitting here listening to this, hitting your jewel. Ugh. You also don't want to have super long items. If I have to sit there and read like several sentences just to answer something, geez, you're gonna make me bored, right? Who here likes to read a lot? Not me. But you want to be concise. You want to be clear, but you also want to be concise. You want to make sure that it says, I like apples, right? I smoke marijuana 0, once to twice, 3 to 4, 5 plus a week. Which statement best characterizes you? Blah, 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 blah. Right? You want to keep things clear, and you want to keep them short. Right? Everyone likes to read a nice short sentence every now and then. Right? Think about when you're taking a test. Right? You get those multiple choice questions, right? And it's just like 4 words, and you're like, yes! That's a quick question to read. Right? But when you're taking a test, and you get those questions like, okay, in 1985, which blah 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 said blah 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 blah, and you're like, what? Oh my gosh, I gotta reread that. I remember that from when I took tests in undergrad. Avoid negative items, because you can confuse someone. Who here has sometimes read could, or like we're reading a sentence and it said couldn't, but then you thought you read could, right? And then you were like, oh crap, it meant could, not couldn't, right? Or who's ever like received a text from someone's like, I can't do that, and you thought they said I can do that, right? It just happens. So just always use positive items. So sometimes when I send out a satisfaction survey about my own behavior or about my own performance in class, I always say Martin is a good instructor. Not because I think I'm a good instructor, it's because I know I'm a good instructor. No, I'm just kidding. It's because I want to create a positive item for you, then you can disagree with that item. I strongly disagree. Martin's a horrible instructor. He just yells at us and he talks about Harry Potter for too much. Right? So avoid negative items because it can be confusing, especially when it's a longer item. So let's say, I do not think body cameras are a positive development at this police agency. You're like, wait, what? A positive development? What? I do not, what? Okay, hold on. I do not think that body cameras are a positive development. Okay, so I do not think, so I don't agree with the fact that they're a positive development. Okay, so I don't like body cameras. All right, great. Or you could have said, body cameras are a positive development. You're like, all right, great. I disagree with this. They suck. I hate them or whatever. Right, so when you have, it's just whenever you add a negative value to a sentence, it just creates a little bit more thinking. It just takes an extra amount of thinking power. Then avoid biased items. Martin goes off on too many tangents while instructing, even though it is still useful to the lecture. Right? That's a biased question. It's also double-barreled because I'm saying he goes off on tangents and he, and those tangents are useful. So you're asking whether the tangents are useful, and you're asking about whether whether you perceive me as going off on tangents too much. But also I'm sort of saying, but I'm not that bad, right? Right? There's bias in it. So the problem with bias is like if some Republican, if I take some Republican survey and I'm pretty liberal, right? If you haven't noticed, I'm more moderate though. Like there's some of these liberal policies. I'm like, all right, geez, calm down, right? But if I took a survey that a Republican gave me and it's all biased in a Republican way, I'm going to start getting real pissed at some point while I'm taking the survey, and I might drop out, or I might give very extreme answers because I'm angry at it and I'm offended by it. Right? You want to keep things simple and you want to keep things unbiased, because then you get more honest questions from others. Right? That BJS survey, as much as I crapped on it, right? As much as I critiqued it or whatever, it had pretty balanced and unbiased questions, right? How likely are you to follow us on social media? Right? There's nothing biased about that, right? How well did you find out, or how fast did you find the loading pages, speeds on our pages, right? There's nothing biased about that. Now, if they had said, how fast did you find that for, despite the fact that we're, a pretty underfunded government program? It's like, all right, dude, what are you trying to do? You trying to gain my sympathy for you? Because if you have biased questions, you'll influence how people feel about it. Like if they had said, despite the fact that we're, unfortunately, a pretty underfunded government program, how was your overall experience, right? It's like, oh, I feel bad for you. You know what? I was a 10 out of 10. I feel so bad, right? Because it influenced me, because there's bias in the question. So when you're creating a survey, so now when you're like, okay, I am creating my college drug use survey for this class, make your items clear. Use short items. Avoid negative items. And avoid biased items, right? So I am going to look at these pro tips when you hand me in your survey, and I'm like, did they use my pro tips? No? Well, you get a F. More pro tips. So one thing that the BJS survey should have done, they should have said, hey, look, when you take the survey, it's going to be completely anonymous unless you decide to give us this information, right? Remember when we talked about ethics, we always want to give people either anonymity or confidentiality. If you can't ensure anonymity, you'll say, well, I'll keep things confidential. Right? But you want to try anonymity, but sometimes it's just difficult, right? Because if you know that there's anonymity, then someone can say what they want. Just like when you guys get those course evaluations at the end of the year, which, by the way, you need to fill those out. Fill them out for my class. Fill them out for other classes. Because the only way that the dean will know whether a professor is good or whether the students like a professor is through those course evaluations. If you think a professor should not be here, then take the course evaluations, right? And slam them. If you like a professor, take the course evaluations. Let the deans know, because then they can hire more people like that. If you think person talking to you, needs to improve something, then take that course evaluation, because I take those things very, very seriously. I read those things like through and through. Like I can almost memorize every single comment that's been given to me on one of those. And I take those things to heart. Sometimes it's hurt my feelings, and I felt really bad about some of the stuff I've received, and I've worked really hard on improving on them. Right? One of the you guys might laugh a little bit at this. One of the things was that I go off on tangents too much, and you're like, oh, I can see that. Well, another one is people thought I'm too aggressive with my views on politics and such, and I can totally get that, right? And so, and I know you're like, yeah, I know, totally, dude. Just think how much worse I was before, right? So I have actually made some improvements. I know it's something I need to continue on improving, but you know how I know that is because you, a student, was able to take that survey anonymously and give me that feedback, because you would not have given me that feedback if I had been sitting there in front of you, or if they had said, he's going to read these and know what you put, right? And that's the great thing about anonymity and confidentiality. Make sure that when you ask questions, that you don't ask your questions, that you don't word your survey items in a way that can embarrass the respondent, right? And it's hard sometimes. Sometimes you just can't avoid it, all right? And so, and that's what, and again, this is where ensuring anonymity or confidentiality can help reduce this social desirability thing. So here's the thing. So let's say I am, and this is more so the case for interviews than it is for surveys, but let's say I am interviewing people, or I am doing a research project at a police agency about police officers' views on racial relations, right? How do police officers feel about police in the black communities? Police in the black community's whole relationship, right? Now, I'm asking them pretty hard questions about this stuff, right? And some officers might be like, you know what? I feel like someone's going to see what I put here. I'm just going to put very progressive answers because I don't want to be known as the racist cop, right? Or there might be an officer who is extremely liberal, right? But they're like, what if the other officers know what I put on this survey, right? And if those of you who don't know, most cops are Republican because they think that Republicans have their interests in mind, and they think that Democrats are all about increasing transparency and accountability and making life harder for officers, which to some extent I can see where they're coming from. Republicans are all about cutting costs, and Democrats are all about spending money for the most part. And so, but anyways, so you might have one liberal cop who might not put any liberal answers because that cop doesn't want to stand out as the liberal, right? It's a social desirability. I don't want people to think that I am different from them, or I don't want to be embarrassed by my answers in case it comes out what I put on that survey, right? So that's why you need to do whatever you can to establish confidentiality or anonymity, and then ensure it, right? Find ways to convince people that it's that way. Then you'll get some straightforward answers. I've gotten some very good responses and stuff on surveys by just hammering in the anonymity stuff. Like when you're asking a question that you know can be super sensitive, you might want to be like, as a reminder, this is completely anonymous. Usually you want to begin with more interesting questions, right? If you think back on that survey that they gave us at BJS, right? They asked some pretty interesting questions at first, and then they went to the more duller ones. And that's because, think about when you're taking a test, right? You always, your mind is at its freshest when you're taking a test, when you're taking an exam, right? And it's usually towards the end where you're like, oh, I want to get this done. And that's when people ask you essay questions. You're like, who here has blown off an essay question because you're like, I am so over this exam, right? That's because that's just how your brain works. You burn out. And we burn out on surveys. You guys remember when I was taking that survey, I was like, oh, get this over with. And then they made me do a freaking open-ended question at the end. Right, so you want to start with the more interesting questions, the questions that are more valuable to you as a researcher. Right? Because when you're not when your brain power is depleted, answering the dollar demographic questions like what's your race, what's your gender, what's your this, what's your that, right? That's easier. That's easier to do. It doesn't require that much thinking. But when it's like, how do you feel about body-worn cameras? Right? Now, you don't want to start with the most controversial question. You want to work your way up to that. So you want to start with like the second most awesome questions at first. And then you want to make them get all the way to like, do you agree? Or to what extent do you agree with the following statement? There is a disconnect between the black community and police officers, right? That's something that is interesting, makes you think, but it's not super controversial, right? You want to work your way up to that, and then pop that like towards the middle of your survey. But you want to start with interesting questions in the beginning. You don't want to start with like, what's your age, right? Because that's the stuff you can do later. You want to grab people's attention with your survey. Now let me show you a mock survey that I've created. Zoom in. So here I start off. So with the survey, I always ask, are you 18 years old? If you're not, then I kick you out of the survey. And so with body cameras, you're like, all right, how tech savvy are you? Right? It's not a super dull question. It's a pretty interesting question. It's a good way to start off. Oh, you're asking me how tech savvy I'm. Okay, I'm 7. In your opinion, the adoption of wearable cameras by your apartment is a positive development, blah, blah. How comfortable are you with the idea of wearing a body camera, right? The ease of use of your body camera, right? Then you get into the more serious questions. All right, based on experience, how do you when do you turn this thing on? Well, to record encounters, blah, 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 blah. Your opinion, should wearable cameras be used by police, right? So it kind of gets more and more interesting, and then sort of hits a plateau, blah, 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 blah. And then it gets to the background information. What's your age? What's your sex? What's your background? What's your education? How long have you been at the Pennybridge Police Department? How long have you been in law enforcement? What's your rank? What's your education? What's your political views? Right? So you start with the more interesting questions and you end with the duller ones, but I wouldn't start with your most controversial question at the beginning. You wanna sort of ease people into that a little bit. Okay, some special types of survey items are contingency questions. So a contingency question works like this. Let's use the pen feature. Ooh, purple! Yay! Okay, so let's say I say, in the last year, I have smoked weed ... And then answer 1 is 0 times. Answer 2 is 1 to 2 times. Answer 3, 3 to 4 times. And answer 4 is 5 plus. Okay. So, now you select... All right, and then the second question is, what strain do you prefer? Strain type. Okay, so then the question, answer 1 is sativa. 2 is indica. And 3 is hybrid. And then the next question is, in the last year, I have binge drank. Is that even a word? Binge drank? Whatever. And then 1 is 0, 2 is 1 to 2, 3 is 3 to 4, and 4 is 5 plus, okay? So, now I take the survey, right? Let's get a cute color. Boom. I take the survey. Now, I've never smoked weed, so I say in the last year I smoked 0 times. What's the point of me then talking about what my favorite strain is? All right, so I take this, and then there's syntax, or there's some sort of thing that says, if you put 1 here, then go to the next question, or then go to this question. But if I answered any of these 3 here, then I go to this question, and then to this question. So a contingency question is based on whatever answer you gave on one item, you might be sent to another item. So which items you receive on a survey are contingent on the answers of a different item. All right, so let me show you an example from an actual survey that I did on police body cameras. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. What? Oh, whoo! I thought I just like exploded my survey. Scroll. All right, here. Boom, shakalaka. The first question, are you at least 18 years old? If they said yes, then they would be sent here. If they said no, they'd be sent all the way to thank you for your participation. Now get out of here. We don't want to talk to no underage people. That's a contingency question. All right? Whether they get to answer any of these questions depends on the answer they gave to this question. And in fact, when I actually administered the survey, the first question I asked was, would you like to participate in this study? And then the question was yes and no. And then if you selected no, you'd get sent to thank you. If you selected yes, you'd get sent to here. Then if you selected yes here, you get sent to here. If you said no, you get sent to thank you again, right? Contingency questions. Pra! Sorry. A matrix question, which you have to have a matrix question and contingency questions on your mock survey. Must look like this. Or something like this. Let's see. In the last year, I have engaged in the following illegal activities. And then you say, and so there'll maybe you'll maybe have something that says yes, no, or not applicable. You have like this thing here, boom. And then the first one will say, smoked weed, done coke, heroin, murder, right? And then you answer the question. So let's say in the last year, I have smoked a little bit of weed, yeah. I've done some coke. No heroin though. and killed a couple people, right? So you have this one question that then asks you to apply. It says, which of the following, right? So you have like a bunch of questions under one type of question. And so I used a lot of matrix questions in my body camera research. Let me show you. Pretty much only matrix questions. All right. These are regular items, regular close-ended items, right? This is a regular close-ended item, regular close-ended item, regular close-ended item. But then here, based on your experience, how often have you typically activated your camera for the following purposes? To record encounters with civilians, right? Well, you know, a person might say, is there like a drawing tool on this? Let's see. Is there like a drawing tool? What about a check mark? Oh, we'll do use a little star. Boom. All right. To record encounters with civilians. Yeah, always. To record arrests. Yeah, always. Aw. Here's this. Control C. Yes. To record routine traffic stops. Yes, I always record those. To record in high private homes. You know what? I don't always do that. To record inside a hospital. Never. I don't do that. I don't want to record that from people. To record during domestic violence calls. Yes, because that's great evidence. To record witness statements. Oh, hell yeah. Well, actually, you know what? No, unless they're like, I'm afraid of being a snitch. So most of the time I do, but not all the time. To record victim statements. Well, if they're comfortable with it, yeah. Sometimes they're not, though. Right? So you ask one sort of, you give one statement here, and then you apply a bunch of mini statements, sub-statements to it. This is a matrix question right here. This right here, number 8, is one matrix question. Here's another matrix question. In your opinion, how often should wearable cameras be used by a police officer for the following purposes? Well, to record encounters, yes. To record, yes. Routine activities, yes. And inside private zone, never. I don't think it should ever be done. Oh, it should never be done here. Domestic violence calls, not all. Like, that should be up to the officer, so I'll say 50% of the time. Record witness statements, yes, I think it should happen all the time. I think victim statements should happen all the time. Same here. In your opinion, how likely is it that the use of wearable camera will lead to the following outcomes? Less use of force by officers. I think it's somewhat likely. Fewer complaints. I think that's very likely. Better police behavior. You know, I always behave well. I don't know why you're asking me this question. Increased number of assaults against officers. I don't know what you mean by that, bro. More public records requests for the camera. Oh, yeah, I think people are going to just want this crap all over the time. Increased numbers of disciplinary action brought against police. Yeah, the administration is always trying to get us. Better evidence of criminal conduct. Yeah, we'll get more evidence. Increased number of criminal convictions. Yeah, I think so. To what extent do you agree with the following statements? Please pick an answer that's most applicable to your opinions about body-worn cameras. I use my body-worn camera when I write reports. Not always, but I do. I record body-worn camera footage. I review footage when I write my reports. Not always. I use it when I do a use of force, absolutely. DUIs, yeah. Domestic assault, it depends. Helps me write my report. Does it help me write my report? Yeah. It doesn't make it more accurate. I already know it's accurate. It's just there to verify. Ooh, it hurts my credibility in court. Heck yeah, it does. If I don't have footage, people always use my access my footage. It's not easy for me at all. I hate it. It's so hard. It has changed the way I report my activities. I don't know what you mean by that question, man. I'm just gonna say disagree. See, when you have an unclear thing, people don't know what to say. I was given an adequate amount of training, no. Right? These are matrix questions. See how we try to keep things pretty simple. All right, we try to avoid negative items. Look, BDSP is durable device. Yes, boom. It's easy to equip in the beginning of my shift. Boom. All right, these aren't super long items. You see that? And then here we come in with the background stuff. What's your age? What's your sex? Remember, what's the difference between sex and gender? Sex is the hardware that you have. What's your racial background? And then what's your highest level of education? And then how long have you been with the Penny Bridge Department? How long have you been employed in law enforcement capacity? So these are all very easy questions to answer. Okay? And then here's an open-ended question. Boom. But yeah, these are all matrix questions. Matrix. This right here is Likert. Right here. Oh, let me show you some Likert. This is Likert. Right here. Likert is to which you give a statement and then you have to say to what extent you agree or disagree with something. Likert. Okay? Likert. Or Likert. Someone at a conference said it's actually Likert. I like to say Likert. I don't care. I don't care whether it's Likert or Likert. I think Likert sounds more like you're liquored up. Okay? I don't care. As long as you have it in your frickin' survey. I don't care whether you pronounce it Likert or Likert or quasi or quasi or tomato or tomato or potato or potato. I don't care. Well, you can only call it champagne if it's from Champagne, France. Otherwise, it's freaking sparkling wine. I don't care. You can only call it bourbon if it's from Kentucky. Otherwise, it's freaking Tennessee whiskey, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. Don't care. This is a regular item. Boom. Please choose a statement that best applies to you. How comfortable are you wearing this thing? Rate how savvy you are. Contingency. Okay. Click. I'm not saying no. Okay. So how do we get people to take our friggin' surveys? Well, you gotta badger them. You gotta send them letters or emails. Back in the day, we used to send letters. But now you just do it via email. Email is the way to go. Now, the problem with email is, right, you can reach a lot more people, but your response rate is going to be lower, like 40%. It would be good. But if you can get a 50% response rate, that'll do, pig. That'll do. But if you can get 70, that's even doper. You want to always send a reminder email every couple of weeks or so. You usually don't want to do more than four reminders. At that point, if after 4 no one has responded, it's not worth it. And with the email, if you're sending a follow-up letter or email, just send a new survey with it. Or if it's an email, you send a new link with it. Just take it, right? The nice thing with a lot of these like online survey tools like Question Pro, SurveyMonkey, and Qualtrics, which is what we use. Qualtrics is the best one. If you ever have Qualtrics, it's the best one. Qualtrics is by far the best. It's really expensive, but it's by far the best. You can set it up so that each email that you're sending this thing to gets a unique link, so someone can't take your survey twice, which is really cool. So you can be like, hey, can you remind all the people who haven't taken the survey yet to send it again, right? With back in the day when they did paper surveys, it was slow, man. It was hard. You had to count your survey, see who you sent it to, see who took it, see who sent it back, and you sent a reminder letter saying, hey, can you please take this with a new survey? And it was just hard. But you don't want to badger people too much. You want to make sure that people don't take it twice, right? So you have to be careful because you'd rather want lower response rate and less bias than more